Do you know that with a pen, some post-it notes, and a tape, we can manage our projects and our initiatives? Let's learn more about the tips and tricks of the Kanban boards. The concept of Kanban boards were created by Toyota in the 1940s, and it was mainly aiming to control the logistic using a basic principle of governance. It's the pull system. And what is the pull system? It's something is not pushed through the production line, but final areas of the production, they pull the work. So instead of being a push, like for example, the Gantt chart, it's a pull system where the final result drives each of the steps to that. But it's not because you are using post-it notes that you are doing Kanban. I saw so many people using post-it notes, making very fancy charts and saying, oh, I am using Kanban. No, Kanban has two absolutely specific principles. The first one, it's a visual approach. So Kanban must use sticky notes. Kanban must use a wall. Look, it can be a virtual wall, but it must have a wall and a table with columns and lines. And this is the visual approach. The second one, and probably for me, the most important one, is the control of work in progress. Why do you do and do you use Kanban? You use Kanban because you want to avoid multitasking. You want to avoid having so many things just parked in one intermediate step without producing and delivering any value. Let's just go to the production line that it's easier for me to explain to you. Imagine cars. What do you want? You want to start producing a new car, and as soon as you can get the car ready. You don't want to have cars that are almost ready, but they're missing the wheels, or they are missing the glass, or the windows, or the doors. What do you want? You want the final product, because work in progress does not deliver value. Work in progress does not deliver value. Software being developed or a feature being developed does not deliver the outcomes for your customer. And I'm not talking about Kanban only in technology. We see so many videos talking about the use of Kanban in IT, but I want to talk in a very generic way. And how do we control this? So let's start trying to build a very simple Kanban board. The most simple Kanban has 3 columns. To do, doing, and done. Okay, this is the most simple. And this drives me to explain one of the basic principles of this table. This is the principle of the flow of work. The work starts here and moves in this direction until it's done. I'm doing here an absolutely simple one with 3 steps. But you can do this, and we'll see later, with many, many different steps. And there is also something that you can do, like an additional column here, or maybe many people don't use this additional column, but they do something like this. They put like a cloud here, an area here, and they put here backlog. What is the backlog? The backlog is every single idea, task that you want to put through this process from the beginning up to the end. And this is your backlog. So basically, what do? You use the post-it note to create your backlog. So let's create some sets of tasks here. Task A, then task B, then task C, D, E. When we see this, this is our backlog. And every single task will stay here until you decide that you will do it. And this explains to me this area here. In this area, many people just forget it. And this is the area or max work in progress. So let me put some numbers here. Your ability of creating a to-do list is limited to 3 items. You can do only 2 at the same time. What I'm telling you here, I'm telling that you can do only 3. So if you have 1 post-it note here, 2 post-it notes here, 3 post-it notes here. For example, any tasks, let's put some codes here. H, I, and J. Take a look on that. And for example, you want to do D. No, you cannot do because you already are in your limit on the to-do list. On the doing list, let me block here. You can do this visually. Your limit is only 2. For example, if you have only 1, let me give you this example. It means that you have 1 free slot. So your team can take H and move it here. This is the flow of work. And then when X is ready, you move to the done. So what happens when you move to the done? It opens another slot. Then you can bring I to this. And then you can bring, for example, D and B. This is the way you move the work. When nothing is here and everything is here, your project is 100%. It's done. What is the secret here? For me, one of the best secrets of Kanban is to know what is the number to put here. It's based on your team availability and the work you were doing. So for example, you can do only, for example, 2 tasks at the same time. So I cannot pull anything. I can only pull B, D, or J when I finish I and H. If I cannot finish them, or if I'm late, these will be stuck here and this will be stuck here. And this will help me to not stay, and what happens many times with, let me show you, with like this, a bunch of stuff doing, a lot of stress, a lot of energy, a mess, and no value, because B is not what I need. I need done. So this helps me to control my flow of work. What is the difference between, for example, this and the Scrum board? The Scrum board is very similar, but the Scrum board is always working on 1 sprint. That can be 2 weeks, that can be 3 weeks. On every sprint, you clean this, you prepare a new backlog for that sprint, and you start again. So every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, you clean this and you start again, you clean this and you start again. On the traditional Kanban, you never clean this. Things just start popping up here. For example, tomorrow, let me just change the color. Tomorrow, there is a new request. Why? And this new request comes here. Or Zeta comes here. And this will go to this backlog. As soon as things clear here, they start moving to that direction. So this is the basis of Kanban. So this concept of the maximum, because if there is no maximum here, you are not doing Kanban. You are just doing a table that controls different works. Now let's talk about some variations of that. Some clear variations of that kind of concept is the first one is what we call swimlines. And what is a swimline? A swimline is when you take, I'm just removing this to make easier for you to see, when you make your columns and you create, like in a swimming pool, you create lines here. And these lines will help you. It's like a multiple Kanban board. And this is, for example, team A. Or this is, for example, procurement. This is, for example, HR. This can be any area of your company or any of your teams, and you do the same concept. However, you do it in a different way. You put the maximum on each of them. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and so on. So what happens? It's the limit for the team A on their to-do list is 1. On their doing list is up to 3. This one is up to 4. Okay, I made up these numbers. But what you know that this, for example, this from here to here is one Kanban board. From this, including this, is another. But when I do that, I do this to combine different teams, to combine the work of different teams. Another thing that we do a lot and we use a lot, different colors. And the colors, they work in a very similar way. For example, you can put teams and we can put types of services. For example, infrastructure, IT, or in construction, we can talk about carpentry, painting. And I can see, for example, there is a work that is related to painting in procurement. There is a work related, for example, to safety or to IT of that building in HR. So I can see by colors, and this is just an improvement and some variations of that. Another important thing is that these to do, doing, and done is just a generic one. Most of the time, to be really honest with you, we don't use these 3. We tailor this, and we tailor to our specific needs. Let me give you a couple of examples. I can put something like that. To do, phase A, phase B, phase C, done. I can do that. I can take this doing and split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me give you an example in procurement. For procurement, we can create, for example, 6 columns. The first one, it's called request. This includes all activities in procurement where procurement requests a code from the supplier. The second one is waiting. Is where you already requested and you are waiting the feedback from the supplier. The third column are the processes or the purchases. You are selecting the supplier. The fourth one, those procurement processes that are waiting for approval. The fifth one, the POs and the contracts. And the last one, done. For example, if you have only capacity of approving 2 items at the same time, the approval will be in some ways a bottleneck. Imagine that you have resources for the others. And then only 2 post-its will stay on that specific column. And this is just an example. Another example, let's suppose a recruitment process. On the recruitment, we can introduce 7 columns. And let's give you an example. Our backlog can be applicants, can be our applicants. Then we take from the applicants, the pool of applicants, and we move them for our to-do, means initial screening. Then after that, we do an assessment. After that, we do an interview. And then we have a hiring process, and we have two final columns. One hired and another one not hired. For example, if I move someone here and I do an initial screening and this candidate will not move further, I just move it to the not hired. And my recruitment process will come to an end when all this pool of applicants are placed in the hired or not hired area. Another example is, let's suppose, painting. Let's suppose you are working in a project and you have to paint, for example, all the building or the industrial facility. So what would be nice columns for us to do a Kanban board? For example, I can have my backlog as the items that I need to paint. For example, to be painted. Then I have first column, preparation, where I prepare the area to be painted. The second column, sanding and cleaning. The third, primer coating. The fourth one, first coat of paint. Fifth one, second coat of painting. Sixth one, cleaning. And then I have the final done. Why I need this? Because let's suppose for the cleaning, I have two resources. For example, for cleaning. For example, to prepare for the painting, I have two resources, two people that can work. So it means I have capability of prepare only two places at the same time. For example, J and X. J and X. The second step, it's, for example, the prime coating. Let's suppose I have two experts, two painters that are experts in putting this resin and protect the walls for painting. Two. It means I can only paint two items. For example, when someone finished the primer, for example, the third step, that is, for example, the first coat, can take it and then it opens something for the primer. Then the primer comes here and say, okay, what do you have prepared so I can start the primer? Then the preparation is empty. Then they take another area and start. This is the flow of work. And you can tailor this for whatever you want. Every time you have a start and a finish, you can do that. And what is important, you can apply this for a project. Yes, you can. But you can apply this for bites and pieces of the project. Many times, for example, when you have very complex projects, this becomes gigantic. But you can use this for a small team. Let's suppose that you have a team in the marketing area, and they can work with Kanban in a project that is using, for example, waterfall. What is the problem? So when you have complex things, most of the time you tailor and you use this hybrid approach where you mix everything. You mix Kanban, you mix Scrum, you mix everything in order to deliver your project. My final note, this, and it's great for you to start using this like I'm doing here, using a wall and using some tape. However, there are so many technologies that you can use to do that. For example, there are Mural and Miro, and I have a lesson that you can follow here, clicking on the link on the top, that you can do this, exactly this, online in remote teams. And you may use even more sophisticated features, programs like Trello, like Jira, like Asana, where they do basically this, and they control this. They calculate for you bottlenecks. For example, they may say, for you to improve your flow, you should hire someone else, more people to do the primer, because this is becoming your bottleneck. And it's like a production, but it's a project production. So you are delivering, and when everything is here, you have this done. So what I intended with this video, this is a very simple thing that can benefit your project and improve your Swiss arm knife of tools to deliver better projects.